So it's your attitude that you maintain of seeing only God out there. When you're feeling any emotion but this high love, it's the ego expressing. When you feel this pure love, it's the God you expressing. So when you have any emotion, you're covering up the God you. I think it was in the Verities I took off on what emotion is, like it's never been took off on before. That there is no emotion but the feeling of lack of love. That's all it is. But the more we feel it's a feeling of lack of love and wanting to reestablish the feeling of love. And to the degree that we feel that lack of love, we call it fear, hate, envy, jealousy. It's different degrees of the feeling of lack of love and the wanting to reestablish it that we call emotion. Love itself is not an emotion. It's it's the quietest of all things. This is something we never get into much in this group, is the psychology, emotions. I went that tortuous road of psychology way back in the days of Watson's behaviorism. Don't say yes to that. Oh, that was back in the early 30s. That was popular. And I stayed with psychology right through the years. Ended up with Freud, very intense with Freud. I studied everything that he wrote that was translated into English. I really studied. And the whole thing behind Freud is purging yourself of the inhibitions and the compulsions. He calls it catharsis, cathexis. The psychoanalyst tries to get you back to the times you set in these compulsions and inhibitions, have you relive it, and free yourself of it. And I discovered what the Freudian way took a year to do. In Dianetic Scientology, you could do in one evening. And I discovered, via metaphysics, that what you were doing in one evening could be done every evening for millions of years. There was so much of this inhibition and compulsion, not only from this lifetime, but from many, many lifetimes before, that it was a forever process. That, rather than that, when we get to see who we are, we just dump this ego with all its inhibitions and compulsions in one lump sum. We let go of the whole thing. And that it's really the only way, because while you're trying to get rid of these compulsions and inhibitions, you're acknowledging the ego and you're validating it, and you're sort of bogging yourself down because of that. So the fastest and really only way is to recognize who you are. And when you do, that scorches the ego. And you scorch it enough to burn it to pieces. Then it's finished.
Spencer, do we actually create a healing, or do we learn to accept with peace and rise above pain or illness or death?
It depends on the way you look at it. The first one is here and the second one is here.
Well, what brought it to mind was the other night you said about the time Gandhi wanted to get out of the car and he had the sick feet. Why couldn't he heal his feet? Or didn't he want to, or was it not worth his trouble? And
he didn't want to.
In other words, he was able to accept with peace above it. Is that more desirable than healing?
To him, yes. It acts as a constant reminder to him that he is not the body.
By being able to be above pain. Well, I'll say that again. It's going to sink in.
A realized being sometimes will, when he's in a body, will walk around in a sick body as a constant reminder that he is not the body. See, now, the sick body doesn't perturb him one bit. He'll be just as cheerful and loving as when his body is perfect. But this is nothing to worry about now. First, learn how to perfect the body. The reason why I mention it is because occasionally you'll meet a master who walks around with a defective body. I thought it'd be good to know why.
But actually, we do not create healing. The health is there all the time. We're creating sickness. Then we think we're creating healing. We're not. We just recognize that there's...
You let go of the sickness, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Your natural state is perfection. Now, everything in the world is mental. Whatever you think is. You're always right because you think so. If you think a draft gives you a cold, you're right, it does, because you think so. If you think walking into a house where there's a virus, that you'll get it, you're right, because you think so. If you walk into a house where there's a virus and you think you won't get it, you're right, you won't. It's the thinking that determines. We all love to the degree that we are realized. But we try to increase it more and more to become realized. We can always lift it just a bit. Keep moving up, and someday we have it at the top. You see, love is something that cannot be applied to one person, one thing, one plant, one animal. But actually love is a general thing. If it's for one person and not for the other, the reason why we love that one person is because we think we need that one person, that one person has something we want. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. Love will create universes. The greater the understanding, the greater the love we have. Love and understanding are the same thing. You understand one, you love that one. If you love that one, you understand that one. The greatest thing you can do is just be. And one of these days, instead of, you see, when you get high, you get giddy, you get together, you say, oh, nothingness is near laugh. You don't need that. You can just feel all that and more. But because of habit, we're used to expressing. We think we have to talk, make conversation. But later on, you'll let go of all that. I'm not saying that's bad. What you're doing is wonderful. laughing is a very good therapy. You could laugh yourself into realization if you just keep it going all the time.
I gotta work on that.
There's no more silly than I am.
But you know, there are classes conducted where the teacher comes in, the disciples sit all around, not a word is said. They'll sit for hours that way, and the teaching goes on. It's called the silent teaching. So the object is to only be. So the teacher gets in front and only bees. Or the teacher will just be, he'll see everyone, he'll see the only one, and he helps the others to just be. That's how simple it is. That's why I say, don't look at me, don't look up to me. Look at what I'm saying and try to be what you are. And at the time, I see you the way you really are, this infinite being. That's the effectiveness in teaching. To the degree that I know you're a master, that you're perfect, you're infinite, to that degree I support you in your seeing it, whether you're conscious of it or not. So when you become aware of these silent teachings, you can always use them, no matter who you call upon. That individual, whether it's Jesus, Lester, Sylvester, John, whoever it is, if you recognize that silent teaching, whenever you call for help, it's there immediately. From the one whom you're asking it from, who in the end turns out to be your very own self. The external teacher tries to steer you toward your own inner self, which he is.